Hello everybody, this is me Amin.
And this Alex.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About. Wow. It's been a while that we've been off podcasting. We've been super busy with a lot of other things. So for those of you guys who've been waiting, I think Alex and I would like to apologize for the delay. But now we're back and we're going to go right into the topic for today. Well, a lot of things have been happening, but we had one peculiar thing happen. There was a major incident
Involving an EV,
and everybody was like, that's everybody had an opinion about it. Well, the reason why we're starting the podcast today is we want to talk about performance EVs in general. I guess the idea came when there was a question that you presented, right? So, is the Tesla Model 3 performance good for? I mean, what was the question that you asked me?
So basically, because I think everyone know that, we are not very fond of Tesla. I know they have been, doing a lot of stuff in terms of, infrastructure and EVs and all that, which are pretty efficient. But, I think it's well known that we don't really fancy Tesla in the sense that, it's very bare. There's a lot of things that they've made a lot of questionable decisions, like, removing the stalks and then moving the gear shifter to the screen.
Yes.
We don't find it like a appealing driver's car. But recently we got an opportunity to try the Tesla Model 3 performance.
Yes.
So the question is, did it change our opinion about Tesla Model 3?
And then something happened this week and I was like, okay, performance EVs in general, because a lot of EVs now have a performance variant. We have the MG4 XPower, we have the Tesla Model 3 Performance, we have the Hyundai Ioniq 5N that's now available in Malaysia, and we have Porsche, the Audi.
Even the Volvo EX30 Twin Performance
Can go 0 to 100 in
3.6
something seconds, right?
Fastest Volvo ever.
Yeah, you have like supercar performance in cars that are not really supercars. When I started testing the Model 3 performance, I go like, yeah, it's easy for an EV to go fast, to do 0 to 100 in less than 5 seconds. Not a problem.
3.1 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, like in general, right?
Yes.
Not all EVs, but in general, on average, all EVs are much faster than their equivalent ICE cars.
Yes.
And so this kind of like warps your understanding or perception of what performance is. And is it just down to 0 to 100 acceleration? So to find that out, like you said, we got the opportunity to try out the Tesla Model 3 Performance. I took it to the track and you took it on a long distance drive. I have some thoughts about the car.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about the car or you want to talk about the issue at hand?
Okay, let's start with the issue at hand.
Okay, so as we all know, right, EVs can go very fast. And then we just go back to this recent incident involving an MG4 owner. So previously, this particular creator, he created a video that, EV is such a hassle, he waited at a charging station at Gambang for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we make a follow-up video to respond to that, saying that, hey, you don't need to wait for 3 hours, because number one is with a little bit of basic planning and then a proper driving, you shouldn't be having that situation at all. Because, from my experience, right, there's a lot of ways you can charge your car and how to charge your car.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he never charged to full, which he did. And then when he was doing that video, it exposes his driving habits because it's shown there on the instrument cluster, he's doing like 29 kilowatt hour per 100 km.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, if for those who don't know, anything above 20 or 25 is like the highest.
Crazy,
26 is a lot.
Yeah.
So this number is actually very high.
Very high. And the displayed average speed is 120 kilometers per hour. Average. I don't need to remind everyone what's the meaning of average. Average is the middle, which means to get average of 120, you need to do much higher than that.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to give you an example. Okay, my friend, he tried. This person, he's flooring it on the car, right, or some highway, I don't know when. I think the car can do maximum 170 kilometers per hour. He was flooring it, right? The average speed, right, shown is 100 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so the average speed is 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, the guy who was flooring it had 170. But the average display is 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
So to do 120 kilometers per hour average is insane.
And the danger for me is that the car is not equipped to handle that power.
Yeah, because it's easy to make a fast car, right? Just put in twin motors, very powerful motors, and off you go. But there's a lot of things you need to control the car. Do you have sufficient brakes?
Tires.
Yeah, tires especially.
Yeah,
yes.
the steering.
Yeah.
But I'm also conscious that I don't want to make this show about that. So the issue at hand is, if you're driving a performance EV, if you want to drive it spiritedly and you want to drive it fast, okay, good for you. All the power to you, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to enjoy driving.
Yep.
But there's a time and place for everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously not in the rain on the highway when there's other cars around you.
Yeah, and then what's most disturbing is that because we always share our long distance drives on social media, and then we say, oh, actually the range pretty good, the charging infrastructure is actually not as bad as people thought. Yeah. And people say, what's average speed? What's average speed?
Road hogger.
Yeah, road hogger. And then we share the average speed is like 70, which is actually pretty fast. Because I remind you, it's average, They say, 70 is too slow, no wonder
Road
hogger, EVs drive in the left lane all the time, blah, 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 blah. The thing is, do you need to drive your EV hard all the time just because it's a performance car?
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's so easy. It doesn't have gears, right? It's just like press it and it goes. Press it. So I mean, okay, to answer your question, do you need to drive a car 100% all the time? Obviously not.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously it's 50% or less, and you want to relax and you want to come down and enjoy the ride. So I don't know. Netizens also are another thing lah.
Yeah, like for example, the thing is, the disturbing thing is that a lot of people find that driving at the national speed limit 110 is slow. That's the disturbing part. Yeah, you want to drive crazy.
It's casual lah. It's casual. It's not. I mean, it does feel slow though.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not okay. Here's the thing. Okay, maybe I'm gonna jump a bit to the Tesla Model 3 Performance. So I driven it, right? So I driven it to Penang on a single charge, no problem, from KL to Ipoh, and then to Penang on a single charge, and I still have like 18-20% battery remaining, which I think is pretty good, because normally for performance cars, right, if you drive it fast and obviously it's heavier, you won't get a very efficient drive. And I got like 16.5 kilowatt hour per 100 km.
It's kind of like combining the best of both worlds. You get an efficient but powerful and performance-driven car.
But just to finish it up, is that when I got 6.5, I'm super impressed. And people say, oh, he's driving 6.5 kilowatt hour per 100 km. He's driving slow. The thing is, honestly, if I'm driving that same way, I don't want to say how fast I'm driving. Okay. If we're going to drive in the same way on the Kia EV6, right? Confirm with more than 20 kilowatt hour per 100 km.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, if for those who know, you know. So basically, I'm say that it's very impressive that it can be that efficient despite being a performance car.
So I guess the point we're trying to make is, look, when you're driving an EV, right, it can go fast, and it does have four wheels and a steering wheel. It does look like a car, but it's actually not a car. And it requires a big shift in your mindset and the way you think about how you drive and how you use an EV. And I would say maybe better than petrol cars. But I want to close this point to say that, okay, if you're driving a performance EV, driving an EV on the road, just be careful and don't trouble yourself and don't trouble others.
Be responsible lah. Yeah.
Okay, now we come back to the Tesla Model 3 Performance.
Yes.
Should I talk about the track day, or should you maybe you talk about your long distance driving first? What did you set out to find out with the M3P?
Okay, so for me, it's like the previous high performance EV that I drove for long distance is the Smash at 1 Bravos. I think we all agree it's quite fun. It's quite cool, quite quirky. You get engine noise. It's a lot of fun. But as a vehicle to take long distance drive, barely, because I've driven that to Penang as well. And then I barely had not enough charge to reach Penang. So when I left KL at 100%, I took WC Highway. It's a very straight road. Obviously, straight road, you know what happens. So very clear. And then I reached Juru to charge the car at 2%. So that car on paper has 400 kilometers of WLTP range. So I reached there 2%. I did about 350. So cutting it very close. But for the Tesla Model 3 Performance, I was expecting, you might suck at doing long distance drive because it's performance oriented. It's a dual motors and plus bigger battery. And surprisingly, I managed to reach Penang with about 18% battery left.
So you did the same trip?
I did the same trip, but I didn't go to the WC. I used Plus Highway.
Okay.
And Plus Highway, of course,
would argue it's more congested.
It's more congested, but in clear roads, I think I had more fun. Okay, if you know what I mean. And I managed to go enter Ipoh to run around and then buy Funny Mountain soybean, go back to highway and go up again and reach Penang and save 18% battery remaining. So not really an issue.
18%.
Yeah, despite being like the high performance EV, and I was thought that I expect that the range would be crap, but it's efficient. So if you want to drive it normally, it works as a proper long distance cruiser. The ride is firm, but it's not uncomfortable. I must say that the dynamic suspension works wonders.
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. And then when you want to overtake cars and you have a small window, that instant acceleration really helps a lot. So for those of you who think that what's the point of 0-100? Well, there it is. Overtaking is such a breeze.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that there's no eco or sports mode. You just tekan, it just goes.
There is the acceleration pedal control. There's chill, normal, and insane.
Yes,
So
that's acceleration.
those are the modes, I think, right?
That's more for the acceleration. So I've set mine to normal.
The throttle response, is
Yeah.
it? I found it that it does affect the performance of the car.
Yeah, it does.
So it could be the
It's
driving
combination, yes.
mode. We've been bouncing this question a lot, right? So I don't know whether I should ask it now or maybe I ask now and then you reserve until the end. The Tesla Model 3, you asked me that question, right? So if you had one car to buy and it's an EV, would it be the Tesla Model 3 Performance or would it be the EV6?
Wow.
So do you want to save that for later or you want to talk about it now?
Okay, the thing is this. If I haven't tried the EV6, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, I'm going to buy a car I haven't tried before, right? I think I'll put my money down on the Tesla Model 3 Performance. Because the price though, okay, starting from 242,000 ringgit. Of course, you need to add color, you need to add more, but it's cheaper than the Smart Hatchback 1 Brothers, guys. and then it has the range.
And the top speed, it can go up to 260 kilometers per hour.
Do you find out?
I didn't try that, but I know I know it can do 200 easy.
And for that amount of money, it's cheaper than what we are paid for the Kia EV6.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, it pains me, and I do agree with you. But before we go into all this discussion deeper, I want to also put out a disclaimer here. We are not condoning unsafe driving or fast driving on public roads.
Yep.
So don't follow what we do, and it doesn't necessarily mean we are doing it.
No, our friends don't follow
don't follow our friends. We have very terrible friends. But for the sake of the Soya Chincha way is this, right? We cannot criticize or comment on anything before we try it.
And we tried the Tesla Model 3 Performance.
Yeah, and the aircon is good.
Yeah,
and
it's efficient. The aircon's efficient.
Yeah,
and I'm also impressed that despite having a glass roof, it's not as hot as I thought it was. It was a bit warm, but it's not a really big issue.
And you keep raving to me about how much space there is in the Tesla Model 3 in general.
Yeah, and although it's not as premium as the premium brands, but there are a lot of things they've done right. Like for example, they have the soft felt materials in
feels good.
It feels good anyway. Like for example, the door bins, right? A lot of car manufacturers, even the premium car manufacturers, right, don't even have felt in the door bins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one they have wrapped all around, not just on the door side, but also on the plastic side.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So when you put small items like keys or touch and go or cards, right, it doesn't rattle around.
Yeah.
And the storage bins in the middle is huge.
Yeah. I mean, the layout is nice and clean.
Yeah.
The double glazed windows make a big difference.
Yes.
And
The
then
acoustic glass.
the frameless doors is super sexy. It's super premium. I like it.
I mean, it's coming to the
yeah. So another thing that is the Soya Chincha way is, hey, if we're wrong, we admit that we're wrong, and if we're going to change our minds about an opinion that we form, we'll change our minds. And the Model 3 Performance did change my mind about the Tesla. Oh my god, it's so painful to say it.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like crying.
both of us are truly impressed by the car.
There's one thing I want to also talk about. I think you will have a lot to talk about as well. Is the charging experience. I don't want to say network. Because there is no network.
There is. It's only one.
I mean, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Compared to whatever that's available right now.
Yes.
So let's say you go down north. Let's say for me, I go down south a lot. South, there's basically non-existent.
God, there's two. One in Malacca Freeport, another one in Iskandar. Only two.
I have to get off the highway.
Yeah, there's one coming up next to the highway. It's in Skudai.
Yeah. And I don't reach Skudai most of the time.
Yes.
The network is not there, but the experience is it's so good.
It's like you wish
easy, man.
all EVs should be like this, right?
Yeah.
Just plug in and then it initiates so quickly.
Yes, it's easy. So there you have it. To all the Tesla fanboys that are listening, the Tesla supporters that are listening to this podcast, the Model 3 Performance, I think, does some things very well. Then you asked me about the stalks.
Yeah, the lack of stalks and also the lack of physical gear selector.
So that's where I think there's an issue. Teslas in general are not designed to be driven, and the brief when they're designing the car is that, okay, let's design a car that's for drivers. I don't think Tesla is that. They're not for drivers. So that's why they removed the signal stalk. And for these things, for a driver, a person that drives cars and enjoy driving cars, these things are important because you want to know where things are without needing to look at where things need to be. So for example, right, I like to engage my electronic parking brake manually. It's just a habit. I mean, because when you drive performance cars and when you drive on the track, you want to make sure everything is engaged before you get out of the car. It's a safety thing. So that's a habit that I have when I drive my own car. I make sure so my procedure when I park is drive it into the parking bay, move the stick to neutral, engage parking brake, then let go of the brake, and then put in P. I do that. Even with my electric vehicles, I do that. So with the EV6, I can just not look and reach out, and I know where the parking thing is. For the Model 3, for Teslas in general, I find the signal stocks, the signal buttons very fiddly. When I was driving on the track, I keep accidentally pressing the signal buttons. I keep
why you signal during the track?
Accidentally.
Oh, accidentally. I thought you overtake someone, you put signal.
No, I keep accidentally pressing it, and it's like this is so annoying. The lack of the manual controls, right, shows to me that this is a software guy designing this, because there is a dedicated track mode.
Yep.
In the track mode, it shows you telemetry of the battery temperature, motor temperature, brake temperature. You can dial the performance, the balance of the
bias.
car, whether you want it to understeer, oversteer. It's a slider on the big screen. And then you can also dial the brake, the regen. You want zero regen or max regen. Yeah. So before I was setting out, I set everything nicely. And then naturally, when you're driving on the track, you want to be able to adjust as you go along, because then you understand how the car is doing, and you know, okay, you want this or you want that from the car. Immediately, I find problem because you cannot do it on the fly, because everything is touch and everything is a slider. It's so difficult. And I was like, hey, why didn't you design? You're so good with software, right, Tesla? So why didn't you, when I turn on track mode, the whole interface on the screen is designed so that it helps me change things on the fly without looking at the screen. And I think it's very dangerous. I'll just share with you my track experience. So we took the Tesla Model 3 Performance at Sepang for a track day. So we started from the office, then we went to Gamuda Cove. We charged there 100%. It took us about 30 minutes. And then we went to Sepang. So by the time we reached Sepang, it was already maybe 96%. And then we went to the track. I assume my consumption would be 30 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometer. I did the calculation. I probably get maybe 30 laps. So
30.
Yeah, 30.
Okay,
so because
okay.
one lap is 5 kilometers.
Okay.
So 5 times 30 is about 150 kilometers.
Okay.
Then I went out, half a lap, not even one lap. So my plan was, okay, I'm going to do one warm-up lap and then 3 push hard laps per stint. So the track day was 4 hours. So each hour, so I will go in until the car all overheat, and then I'll come back into the pits and then cool the car and then go back out. So I assume it takes me half an hour to cool down the car. I went out my first session. Within half a lap, everything overheated already. Within half a lap, the brake overheat. The brake faded. The
disc
is glowing hot.
Yep.
All the time. All the
full.
pictures I have, all the brake disc is glowing hot. Okay, so the Tesla Model 3, in terms of a performance car, for you to use on the road and drive hard on the road, right, I think is more than enough. The tires, the Pirelli P0, I was like, oh, P0, but this is P0 Elect. It's for EVs. It's maybe sacrificing some performance, but I think the grip is good. The feel is good. But again, on the track, it just can't. It can't do it. I mean, if you want to drive hard on the road, go to Genting or Uluyam, the Tesla Model 3 can probably whoop any car out there. But to take it on the track, you can't.
So in total, how many laps have you done on Sepang?
So within that session, I only got 15 laps.
Okay, so how do you win?
I mean, I think it's a waste of money because 15 laps in 4 hours is like quite terrible.
Usually, how many laps do you accept to do?
Okay, for me, when I do my bikes, I do maybe 20-30 laps.
Oh, 30 laps. Okay.
About 30 laps. Every session I go out is about half an hour. So if the lap is about 2 minutes, let's say one lap is about 3 minutes on average, right? So 3 minutes, I can do 10 laps for half an hour stint, and then I come back, rest for 15 minutes, then go back out. So I probably have maybe 5 stints. or 6 stints in a 4-hour period. For this Tesla Model 3 Performance, I could only do 15 because and then the battery consumption was like super high.
You don't have a charger in the location.
There's no charger at the location. There's no charger at Sepang or charger that's fast enough to make it practical for you to charge. There was another Tesla there.
Tesla Model 3 Performance as well, right?
Yes, another Tesla Model 3 Performance. I didn't get to talk to the guy, but I saw him plugging in a granny charger. I don't know for what reason though.
It's gonna take ages,
and there's
man.
no point.
No point, yeah.
It's not even trickling. There's no point. So your consumption is like 5, 6, 10 times more than what you're topping up.
Yeah, it's just a couple of drips of oil into the tank. Per hour.
So that's pointless. I did 15 and the car got weirder and weirder as the stints went along. So our plan was to stop using the car by when we reached 20% battery. So from 90% to 20%, that's 70%. I managed to get only 15 laps. When I was driving the first stint, which was just 5 laps, even after half a lap, everything overheated. I just pushed the car and I was happy. Because I was very skeptical, and I drove the Audi RS e-tron and I said, I didn't like this car. It's not a track car. It's a fast car, but not a track car. It understeered. The brakes are not good. And to a certain degree, the Tesla is like 5 rungs better than the Audi lah.
In what sense? The braking's better, handling's better.
You can drive it hard. And you can be confident driving it hard, but not constantly like you do on the track. And then the Tesla does it better. But it's not as good as a ICE car.
Okay.
And then it started getting weird because what I noticed is that I did the first stint and then I noticed the car understeering a lot, so I dialed up the balance to oversteer +6.
Yep.
And it wasn't oversteering. I was expecting to slide the car. It wasn't. It was just kicking out a bit. I was like, okay, this is cool. And then it overheated. Then I went back in and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back out again. I'm expecting maybe let's try to dial it down. So I dialed it down to +2 oversteer, and then I went out, and then the first turn, which was turn 15 at the Sepang track, so it's like a U-turn. When I hit that turn and I pressed the accelerator at the point where I normally press for a normal car, immediately just spun, oversteered, and I couldn't recover, and the steering wasn't fast enough for me to control the slide. And then I dialed it down some more. In the next turn, it did the same thing. Okay, overall, what I felt was the car software was trying to compensate and trying to make sure that I feel like I get the same level of performance even after the battery has dropped and the car cannot deliver the performance that I expect. So the car is like trying to give me things, and then I'm trying to adjust myself to fit to what I think the car can do, and it's like a mismatch. It's like lost in translation like that.
So it's like you try to adjust the car because based on what you feel, and then the car's trying to adjust itself again to cater to what they think is best for you.
Yes.
So in a way, yeah. And then another thing is that at that moment, what's the battery percentage?
It was already maybe 50%, if I'm not mistaken, 70%. Okay, into my second stint, I think it was already 60 plus.
Okay, because we've been told that for the Tesla Model 3 Performance, right, the optimal battery is supposed to be above 60. So below 60, I think you're going to get some performance throttle and maybe some features might be a bit different.
Yeah, so that gets me to another point, right? So the performance window, if you're going to drive the car super hard on track, is maybe just 5 laps, man.
Yeah.
If you're going to drive from 90% to 60% to get that maximum, and if you want to clock in a good lap time, that's it.
Yeah, and then I think if you want to do that the second time, I think we need to have like a DC fast charger, like a portable charger on the pit,
like a high power DC fast charger, like probably like 180 kilowatts.
Yes, correct.
So at the end of the day, for me, it's like the word performance in all EVs, not just the Tesla Model 3 Performance, I think is overrated lah. I mean, you don't expect. So let's say if you buy an M2 competition or M2 in general,
M2,
or you take any Porsche. And you drive it on the track, right? The Porsche will behave consistently all the time, all the laps. With the Tesla, I cannot predict because, I know you want more. Okay, I'm going to make it feel like you're getting more, but you're not. So at every corner, I'm trying to, I give this throttle input, this car should behave like this. But the next corner, it behaves totally differently.
Oh, wow.
So that's the thing I have with this car lah. Yeah. Then we were talking. So would I get this one over the smart #1 performance, right? But Brabus, sorry, not performance. And then I go like, no, I'll get the Tesla Model 3 because of the adjustability. In the Brabus, you cannot adjust the front and rear bias.
Yes.
You cannot adjust it doesn't have adaptive dampers.
Yep.
I don't know whether you can adjust the regen. You cannot adjust the regen to a
No, not to that degree. I think
not percentages, right?
I think it's only like standard and strong. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether you can adjust acceleration.
Nope, I don't think so. There's only one mode, Brabus, and that's about it. It's very simplified.
Yeah, so for me, that adjustability is important because I have a different driving style. I brake late, I accelerate hard, and I want my cars to be able to do that for me. So I want to be able to adjust to fit these criteria that I want. And the adjustability for Tesla Model 3 Performance is great for you to do it on the road, but again, not for the track.
Yeah, I think the closest car that can offer like the same the adjustability will be the Hyundai Ioniq 5N.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be sold in Malaysia in very limited numbers. Some have already been registered. But that car costs close to 400,000 ringgit.
400,000, yes, almost double.
Yeah. So
other performance cars, so let's say the Porsche Taycan, Audi RS e-tron GT, 700,000. The Lotus Emeya you mentioned?
Yes, so like 600, 700,000. Yeah.
And the Tesla Model 3 Performance is on par in terms of acceleration and top speed, right?
Yep.
It's on par.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, so my take from this is, okay, Tesla has been able to convince me that, hey, actually there are some attributes that I can see why people really like the car. But for me, it's not a driver's car. And for me, like in general, all performance EVs actually don't deliver the level of performance that drivers expect.
I reckon, I think we had this conversation before. I think if given the choice, right, I think you will definitely have more fun on the track with a GR Yaris despite having a 1.5, 1.6, 1.5 litre engine. Yeah.
Less power, but the Yaris is so much better. You're right. I would have so much fun with the Yaris on the track.
Yeah.
And probably can go faster in terms of lap times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Back to the question that we were asking. What were we asking?
Which car will you get, right? So for me, I said that I'll get if I haven't tested both cars before, I just see it's on sale, I'm going to buy, I'll probably go for the Tesla Model 3 Performance because it can deliver the range, it can deliver the performance, it rides better. Yeah.
Okay, so last night we had a chat on WhatsApp and then it's okay, you asked which car, this or another car, right? I can't remember what
EV6.
other car. EV6, right?
Yeah.
And then I asked, okay, what is the driver criteria? And then you said that it was for...
It's your only car.
This is your daily driver only car. And I was surprised. It wasn't an easy question for me to answer. I had a long think about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying not to be biased. Let's try to be fair. And then at the end of the day, what I learned was it's totally up to your personal preference. Because we talked about V2L, we talked about 800 volts, right? And to people who don't know, right, actually all these things don't make a difference. If you don't use V2L, it doesn't make a difference.
If you not try it, you won't miss it, right?
Yeah, and if you don't use a frunk, you don't need a frunk. But what I'm trying to say is it wasn't easy for me to make that decision, and it comes down to what your preferences are. And because we've experienced V2L, we've experienced 800 volts and how fast and how convenient that is. And I'll go like, okay, for me, despite I like the performance and the potential of the Tesla Model 3 Performance, the adjustability for road use and being able to whoop anybody's ass in an instant. Despite that potential, I go back to the EV6 because it's 800 volts. It charges twice as fast as a Tesla. It has V2L, which I use a lot, and it's a hatchback.
Yeah.
Because I carry a lot of things when I go to my track days and stuff like that.
So that's all because of practicality. Okay, if you have option to buy a second car then. Yes. What will it be?
Does it have to be an EV?
Yes, it has
Oh,
to be
okay,
EV,
if it's a second car, that's an EV. Yeah, maybe as a toy, I would get the Model 3. I would get the Model. Yeah. Why is it so hard for me to say this? Yes, I would buy the Model 3 because of the price, man.
Yeah, for the price, it's unbeatable lah. But for me, it's okay. If I'm gonna get a Tesla, right? Although I like the Tesla Model 3 performance a lot, right? If I had to buy a Tesla, I'll go for the long range because for me is I love the performance of the Model 3 Performance, but I think for a daily driver, for me, because I like to drive long distance and I'm also all about efficiency.
Yeah.
I'll go for the long range model because not only is it's cheaper and has more range, but you have lower cost of running because it has cheaper road tax.
Okay, why that over the Seal though?
Okay, the Seal for me, I like
800 volts.
but 800 volt is like a,
It's a
pseudo
low capacity 800 volt.
Yeah, but the thing for me, the still is that it has more space. But in the passenger side, but in terms of charging, for me, the seal my only issue with the seal is the single phase AC charger, because I don't have a charger at home. I rely on public chargers a lot, so 7 kilowatt doesn't cut it for me. If I have a charger at home, maybe, but I still prefer the 11 kilowatt on the Tesla Model 3 Performance.
Yes.
Sorry, Tesla Model 3 long range. Sorry.
Yeah, 7 kilowatt on a big battery is we did some calculation. You can't charge the seal to 100% overnight.
I mean, if it's empty lah.
Yeah, from like 10 or 20% you can't.
Yeah, because it takes about 12 hours to charge your full.
Yeah, at 7 kilowatts.
Yes,
That's
it's painful.
That's that's a lot.
Yeah, because for me, I my habit right now is I go to the mall maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And I charge maybe 2 hours. It's more than enough.
Yeah.
With this BYD seal with 7 kilowatt, it's gonna take me longer than that, or I need to make more charging trips, which is not very convenient.
Yeah. What is your conclusion
I think
from our discussion today?
I think I would say that I think Tesla Model 3 Performance really blew our minds. I think it's much better than expected, because initially I'm going into this like, it's just another standard Model 3 with just more powerful motors and maybe some slight improvements, but the difference is actually quite big. But is it, like you said, a total driver's car that's designed for track? The answer is no.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but nevertheless, we are still very impressed. And if you have 250,000 ringgit to spend on an EV, I guess both of us are in agreement that this is the EV to get, despite what we said before.
Oh my God, why is it so painful? Yes, you're right. And it does make me wonder that I think we did overpay for the EV6.
Yes.
Yeah. But I agree with you. And I did say in our discussions, right, if you want like a really hard edge performance EV, I think the Tesla Model 3 Performance is unbeatable because of the price, the adjustability, and what it can do. But the fundamental issue here is that when people are putting the performance moniker on an EV, you cannot expect it to be at the same level as a performance ICE car. So even, let's say, 250,000 ringgit, right, is about the same money as the GR Yaris. Yes, you get less space in the Yaris, less power, less.
You can't use it as family car.
Yeah, it's not a family car, not practical. It may not be a daily car for you, but I like the brake feel. I like how it handles. I like how fun it is to drive hard and how controllable it is. And I cannot get that same degree of feel and feedback from not just the M3P, not just the Model 3 Performance, but from any EVs. It feels the same. Having said that, the Tesla Model 3 Performance does it slightly better. So at the end of the day, I hate this. It's a good car.
Yeah,
it is a good car. All right. Yep. I think that's pretty much it. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to us on podcast, give us a 5-star rating because it helps more people listen to our podcast. If you have any comments and suggestions of what we should talk about in our next episode, and I promise we try to make this more regular this time, let us know. And if you if you're listening to us on podcast, you can drop us a voice note at
Let's Talk About @soyachinsha.com.
Oh, you still remember the email address?
Yes.
Let's Talk About @soyachinsha.com. Comments, suggestions on the topics at our YouTube. And that's pretty much it. This is me, Amin.
This is Alex.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.